Cineverm.
Hello and welcome to Cineverm, a podcast discussing films in and out of the cinema. My name is Anthony Renteria, and today I'm joined by David.
Hello.
And Helen Albee Cottingham.
Hello.
And this week we are discussing the 2022 film Nope, written and directed by Jordan Peele, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Brandon Pereira, Michael Wincott, and Stephen Yeun. And here's a quick synopsis. The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. As always, we'll begin with a spoiler-free review, and then after our ratings, we'll dive into a full spoiler discussion. So the trailer does reveal that there is a UFO, right? In the second trailer.
I do believe so, yeah.
I went into this knowing there was aliens.
All right.
And I don't think that was, like, too shocking. It happens pretty early on.
So what were your initial takes? Because I think you're probably the biggest Jordan Peele fan out of the three of us, David.
Really? Oh, okay. Yeah,
I think so.
Which I'm not even that big of a fan of his, but I know you're very you've had some epic rants about Jordan Peele on the podcast. So yeah, you really didn't like Us. Did you like Get Out at all? I'm forgetting. Did you like anything about it?
I was disappointed by Get Out, but I understand why it's a cultural piece of art, and I understand the popularity with it. But I don't know. It didn't go far enough in my taste. But I think I ended up giving it a 6 out of 10. So I don't think it's a bad movie. Yeah. I just think there's elements of it that really lower it for me. I think Us is a terrible movie. I give that a 4 out of 10 on a good day.
Right. And I'm exactly where you are, except just one number up for each of these. And yeah, I mean, I like Jordan Peele. I don't know. He today I realized that he is a lot he's like an M. Night Shyamalan. I'm afraid. Well, this is what I'm afraid that his career, it's going to happen where he has a really impressive first movie. They're both kind of horror, twisty kind of guys, and really great first movie that was critically acclaimed. Second movie that some people like a lot and other people don't like, and then a third movie about aliens, and then his career starts kind of going downhill because he runs out of ideas. Because I don't know, this movie, I guess, unless one of you wants to jump into it, I mean, I don't know. I think it was an interesting take on the alien genre. I think it had some interesting stuff in it. It felt kind of like a cautious movie for Jordan Peele, just because, I mean, Us was sort of mixed, I guess, and it's what people thought of it. And then he did the Twilight Zone show, which bombed and people didn't like. And then, I don't know, this felt like he held back a little bit on what he could have fully done with this movie, and he was going to take it really traditional and do a really straightforward horror movie that would be a crowd pleaser. And it still had his weirdness in it, but yeah, I think some of the stuff that I didn't like about the movie was that it didn't go fully into the idea. Maybe what you thought about Get Out, but and then the ending just kind of did not fulfill the pretty great suspense and build up of the first part of the movie. So yeah, in theater experience, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the horror of it. There were a couple of scenes that were really good. That just locked me in. A couple of horror scenes.
Yeah.
One the abduction scene in particular, just incredible, horror scene. Yeah. But then there's just certain things about it that in the end felt kind of clunky. The ending especially felt clunky and anticlimactic. Some of the motivations of the characters didn't really make sense at a certain point. And I feel like they wasted one of the characters who had a pretty cool backstory. And yeah, I mean, those are my overall impressions. I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah. So Helen, what are your initial impressions? And have you seen another Jordan Peele film?
I watched Get Out last week in research for this episode. So I was specifically wanting to have some kind of an understanding of this guy and how he makes movies before I watched this. And then I'm a huge fan of Key and Peele, the comedy sketches. And it's cool that he crossed genres so gracefully, I think. I'm proud of him just for that, just because I feel like he's one of those creators that I've known forever. And I'm happy to see him having so much success and respect. I don't really have any complaints about his style. I'm not like sure I'm a mega fan, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, good movie. Fine. Yeah, I mean, this movie, I'm happy that there is a alien western that isn't cowboys and aliens. We needed an
That's the only other one, yeah.
Or Wild Wild West. I don't know if there's aliens in that, but it was just sci-fi cowboys. And like we need more in the sci-fi cowboy genre. And so this was perhaps the best in that genre. And I'm happy for that. Because I personally love that idea. Because I'm a nerd. And I love horses, and I was watching this with a very critical eye for the way they treated all the horses and the way they portrayed training horses, and and just the way people behave around them, and I found that very accurate and very gracefully handled, and boy does it make me mad in a movie where there's horses, where people act completely stupid or treat them like giant dogs, or like the horses behave in completely unrealistic ways. So like that's something I'm extremely aware of, and this movie did that well, so I was impressed by that. And I like a good jump scare, and I was startled every time with this movie. I had a fun time watching it. I don't really have any complaints. I mean, yeah, I'm sure if I like tomorrow I'll think about it and I'll analyze it and maybe I'll have some issues. But as it is, it was like kind of a popcorn flick. Just like snack down, smile, laugh, gasp, watch, beautiful scenery and good performances and get scared and have a good time. Like, no complaints. Maybe that's kind of lowest common denominator of me, but I just let it wash over me and I had a great time.
Okay, so I don't know. I actually think I might come out of this with the highest rating of this movie because I was pleasantly surprised. I loved a lot of the elements in this movie. Jordan Peele was working with Hoyt van Hoytma, who is the cinematographer that Nolan's used for the past, 10 years or something, since Interstellar, I think. I thought the cinematography in this film was just so beautiful, like just so interesting, captivating, original. I mean, not to like spoil anything, but the way the camera moves in this movie is unlike any of his other movies. And it's unlike any other sci-fi horror movies I've seen, where it's not really like a POV, but it's like an emotional thing where the camera is swaying to capture elements that you think the character is fearing to look at or to feel or to see. It reminded me a lot of, what's his name? The guy who did like the Thin Red Line that you always make fun of, David.
Crap, the director's name. Yeah, I'm Googling it. Listeners are yelling at us.
He did the Tree of Life. Terrence Malick.
Yeah. Terrence Malick.
Very, very Terrence Malick. The way it captured the skies, the vistas of the mountains, of the landscapes, and the environment. I thought all that was just so beautiful. Like I'm actually like kind of tempted to rewatch this in IMAX just to see how beautiful it all looks. And then it was also captured on 65 millimeter film, and I thought that was beautifully used. And the lighting of like all the scenes are just so beautiful in my opinion. And it's like I just imagine how hard it is to like light a huge dark landscape, and like none of it's overly bright or doesn't make sense. Like it all just fits perfectly. And then I thought the score this time around was way better than his two previous film scores. And like I really felt it, like highlighting emotional beats and stuff and suspenseful moments. And then I thought Daniel Kaluuya, I mean, he obviously was like a 10 out of 10 performance in Get Out. And he is like one of the greatest performers that has like arrived in the past like 5-10 years, in my opinion. And I thought he did a fantastic job playing a very muted cowboy in this film. And then one thing I really, really loved that I assumed it was like a choice he or Jordan Peele made was like his physique. Like he just perfectly nailed like a hardworking dude who drinks a lot. So like he's like fat buff, Like, and I just love the clothing and outfits that they picked for him, because he always had a gut, but he's also very intimidating. So he's like a chubby, but he could also beat the shit out of you at any moment.
Yeah, like very strong, but also thick. Like,
yeah, and that
which
is something
is like a
very,
farm worker.
Yeah, and like just having worked in so many labor fields, like he looked exactly like the kinds of people I've worked with so many years of my life, that it was actually kind of shocking. I was like, oh my God, that guy kind of looks like what my dad looked like 10 years ago. So I love that. And I loved Keke Palmer's performance. I loved all the like supporting characters, like Brandon Pereira and Stephen Yeun performance. I actually liked a lot of it. I think Jordan Peele is like a great concept person. And I think, I think he needs like another writer, like to really, whether it's withhold him or to push him further. I feel like in this film, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like an entire B plot that could have entirely be cut out of this movie, and I don't like. I understand the purpose of it, and we can talk about that in spoilers.
I think it could have been tied in better. That's what I'm going to argue. Yeah, it was cool. I liked it. I liked how weird and random it was, but then it was like, okay, but it didn't really tie into the main story very much.
Yeah, I was waiting for a big reveal and there never was one.
And for a movie that was like 2.5 hours almost, to waste not waste, but to have a 15-minute subplot that doesn't, directly tie into an ending feels kind of like, not like a waste, but it felt like something that should have been cut. And then also, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but the way this film narratively unravels, I mean, we talked about, I think last year was the year of title cards. And and then this movie just brought it back full force, because there were just so many title cards that I was not expecting or ready for. And it really like hard cut all the suspense build up. And it was like the film was restarting every time there was like a title card with an animal name or whatever. And that was very disappointing. And then also there's a lot of flashback scenes that I don't think, like, I don't know, it's just been so long since I've seen a flashback in a film work effectively. And it was just kind of like shocking to see a modern day filmmaker just do that. And then me feel like, oh, this is why people stop doing this, because it's very hard to nail. And I don't think he nailed those parts within the structure of a narrative. Like, I don't think it vibes.
There was that reminds me. Yeah, there was one flashback, like a brief flashback that for some reason had a really big impact on me. But we'll talk about it when we get into spoilers. But I just remembered that. But most of them, you're right. It was kind of like,
and it just execution wise, and which is very interesting. That I don't know if it's maybe because he's like blank check status. He's not like as edited. Like I imagine like Nolan is the same. Like no one edits over him, or he doesn't get like or take studio notes. But I do feel like a lot of this film could have been trimmed up and cleaned up to make a very satisfying, like clean 2 hours horror satisfactory experience.
Or if they had written the backstories better and then had them all tie in a satisfying way at the end.
So I guess I was going to ask you, Helen, you kind of mentioned the horses and stuff. Was there anything that they got wrong about horses, or any specific things that you enjoyed or disliked?
I could go on and on about that. I guess how much of it is spoilers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I do want to say, when you said you loved the way they costumed the main character and how he looked like your kind of typical Carhartt wearing working man, I loved how Keke Palmer looked too. I think that the costumes in this film are low-key really perfect and amazing. And I feel like people don't really notice costumes when it's not a period piece with big extravagant like hoop skirts and stuff. But everybody, every garment suited their personality and the situation and told us something about the character on every single character. And I was really paying attention to that for some reason. And I think whoever did the costumes in this movie really should get noticed, because I think it was perfect. I think the way Keke always looked amazing, even if she was wearing like baggy jeans and a borrowed t-shirt, like she picked that one out because she liked it. She went through, Angel's closet when they were at his house and picked that t-shirt. And that's so her. Of course she would have picked that one. Like, I think that the characters were so alive because every detail like that was gotten right. Hair, makeup, costume, everything. The only thing that bothered me about the horses was, again, Keke Palmer's character. Why, her name was Emerald, why would you turn music up that loud if you grew up on a horse farm? You know that that's going to spook them. There's one right out there in the round pen, and you're going to turn music up like that loud? Like, who are you? Like, did you really grow up on a horse farm? You're acting like you didn't. Like, so that bothered me, but that was the only thing that bothered me. But I loved Daniel Kaluuya's performance and how, like, incredibly calm and just flatline peaceful he was, because that is how you have to be to handle horses, because they're very anxious animals. And he was just, like, quiet and grounded in every moment, even when he was terrified. And he also the way he was terrible with people, like a typical animal person. You're great with animals, but you're awful with people. And he was so socially awkward, and he was so quiet, and he never really said anything, and he never said anything really substantial when he was forced to talk to people. He always seemed super uncomfortable whenever he was forced to have a conversation with anyone beside his sister. And that was very realistic. But then meanwhile, with the animals, he sort of came to life and brightened and, like, animal person, not a people person. His performance was perfect.
I liked that character a lot because, well, for one reason, just because it ties into the sort of Clint Eastwood, silent cowboy type character. Like it's that personality, but it's like a more realistic version of it, for the reasons that you said. And also, I like whenever there's a character in a movie that's very introverted and socially awkward and quiet, but it's not because they have like some deep dark secret or they're a killer or whatever. Yeah. Like it's not made a part of the plot of the movie. It's just that's how they are, and it's all right, and that's his personality. And I don't know. I don't think that type of character gets like represented much in movies. So I thought that was cool, and the fact that he's the hero kind of this movie is cool too.
Was there any other technical things that you would want to bring up, David, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, the visuals, including the costumes. Yeah, like the orange hoodie that he wears, like kind of like against that California desert backdrop. That's really cool. I don't know.
And a beautiful location, like the location that they picked.
Oh yeah,
is like
that valley.
It reminds me of like Power of the Dog, where it's like you pick the perfect mountain and then it fits the narrative of it. And I think that must have been so difficult to find such a unique skyline, mountain line, ridge. And then also the house is such a beautiful element of the film too. Like one of the money shots that you're talking about that we'll get into, like it's just a perfectly designed house with it just kind of reminded me of like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
Like how that movie, I mean, how that show. Yeah.
It also kind of looked like a plantation house, which I thought was a nice little, a little nod to like, look at this family living in this big, beautiful 2-story house with the wraparound porch. Like, hell yeah. I mean, it was one of those classic, like Jordan Peele little nudges that if you look for them, they're everywhere. Like the character's name was OJ. Like it's just layer upon layer.
Did you want to give any final statements, Helen, and a review score?
No. I'm holding my breath, waiting to be allowed to spoil. So yes, let's go.
So what would you rate this out of 10, though?
Oh, I mean, right now I'm feeling really generous. I had a fun time. I feel like I had a smile on my face the whole movie. And yeah, I see what you're saying about the subplot not really linking up. And maybe with time that will annoy me more and I'll lower my score. But right now, I'm feeling like an 8 or a 7 out of 10. I'm trying to decide. Okay. I mean, just in terms of like fun to watch, totally an 8.
What about you, David? Do you have any final statements and your score?
Yeah, I was like debating between a 7 and a 6, but I don't know. The more I thought about it, it landed on a 6 for me because and you got to keep in mind like a 5 out of 10 for me is what you're describing, Helen. It's like a movie that you just let wash over you. It's really entertaining when you're watching it. it's fine. It's like it's an average movie. It's a good movie, entertaining movie. So I thought, I'm putting it like a little bit above that with the 6 because it had unique elements. I think it like added unique things to the alien genre horror movie. So yeah, it had a lot of good, but then it's just because of that plot that was really not satisfying, and because of the ending, which I just feel like it just really felt rushed and weirdly lazy for the rest of the movie. The first part of the movie felt so well written and just like, wow. I was like, okay, this movie feels really confident. Like he's really gonna make this was planned out. It was a really well planned out movie. But then the ending I was like, oh man, that's it. Like it just kind of dropped the ball. I wouldn't call it like a solid movie. That's kind of like my definition of a 7. So it was a little shaky, so I'm giving it a 6.
Well, I'm coming in at a 7. I thought it was a good film. I think it's his best film by far, by a long stretch. Just because all the technical elements are like hitting, with the exception of the writing that I brought up earlier. But like, without a doubt, one of the best shot films of the year thus far. The score, the performances, the costumes, sets. And then I love how it's shot in film. I hope he never shoots on digital again. Get Out and Us look so horrible to me.
So like this was definitely film.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, there was a moment in the movie where it was like a close-up of a character's face. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to guess. Like, I'm horrible at this. And I guessed that it was digital. But I'm wrong every time. Every time I think a movie is digital, it's film. And every time I think it's film, you tell me it's digital. I'm like, oh my God. I cannot pick that out. Like it looked, there were some, I guess when I was looking at that shot, I was like, oh, this is clearly digital. It's like super smooth and there's no grain to it. And yeah.
I mean, it would be really weird if this was digital with that character that is obsessed with analog cameras in the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, how could you how could you have a character like that in a movie and not have it be shot on film? But yeah, I'm thinking about my rating. I still stand by it. I think I rate it higher than Get Out entirely because of horses and aliens. Those are just two things that are just always going to get me. So, yeah.
Well, I think that is going to conclude our review portion of Nope. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can pause the podcast now. And while you do that, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or comment on what you thought about the film or our takes on it. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or email us at cineverm@yahoo.com. Check out our website, cineverm.com, where you can see our written reviews and our canon list. And check out my YouTube channel, A Lonely Critic, where I do solo reviews. If you're into gaming news, check out Headset Chat. And lastly, check out the Movies for Decades podcast, where Helen and her brothers Colin and John discuss films through the decades. But now we can get to spoilers. Helen, what do you want to get off your chest?
I'm really interested to hear y'all talk about the weird side plot and where that all fits in, because I have a theory about how it was supposed to have linked up, and I wonder what y'all will think about it. So let's just go ahead and unpack that. That's the elephant in the room, or the chimp in the room. That is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God.
What is your theory?
Thoughts.
My theory? The reason... So Glenn from Walking Dead, because I'm sorry, that's how I'm always going to see him. And it was so nice to see him. He's alive and okay. Like, I have a little like surge of endorphins whenever I'm like relieved that person is a person and not the person who died horribly on Walking Dead. Anyway, he was traumatized by that kids show he was on with the chimpanzee because the chimpanzee murdered someone, or didn't murder her. It was revealed that she wasn't dead. She was disfigured, right? Because she was there with the
murder. It murdered the mom and the dad.
It murdered the other people.
The other people. Okay, but the girl turned out to be alive. And so, I was thinking, okay, so he's collecting all these horses that are trained film horses because he has a vendetta against live animals in film, and so he just wants to kill all of them and feed them all to the aliens. Is that why? Why is he so into this whole feeding the alien? I mean, other than I guess that's a good attraction, And I guess these horses were just available. But I was like, how does this story link? And I was just fishing and fishing in my mind for like a way that this can link together. And I was like, maybe he's intentionally trying to kill like all set animals because of this. Like, but that was never how that was explained. It made so it didn't link. It was just that guy's backstory, I guess.
Yeah. The link that I made, okay, it's that in that horrible massacre, he was the only one that was untouched, and so and the chimp even approached him, and chimp approached him, and they did the fist bump, and he thought he has a line when he's doing the alien show. He has a line when he turns around. I love that moment where he like whispers to himself. He's like calming himself down. He's like, "Don't worry, I'm chosen," or something like that. So he thinks that event gave him some kind of weird arrogance. Yeah, where he thinks he's untouchable, or he thinks he has some like special connection with animals or wild animals or something. So I think he connects the UFO like, okay, these creatures, whatever, I'm like blessed. And these creatures, I'm meant to be this person that communicates with them and is friendly with them and like train them basically like an animal. I don't know if the only problem with that is I don't know if he knows that they're an animal, but
what was up with the shoe standing straight up?
Yes. Okay. I think I had this is my problem with that is that, yeah, I took that in watching the film as, oh, like before we knew anything about the aliens, I thought the reason that the chimp went crazy and the reason the shoe's standing straight up is because the aliens are nearby. And this is like some weird effect the aliens have on animals, because later we see the horses going crazy when the aliens are just nearby. So I'm thinking, oh, like this chimp was like influenced, kind of like the mirror getting turned on the horse's eye and it going crazy. And later the main character connects that like, okay, like the aliens caused this. And I don't know where I was going with that, but like I thought it was because of the aliens and they were going to tie the chimp going crazy into that was like an alien attack that no one knew about and that was covered up. And that I even thought maybe the audience members were like abducted because there was no audience there. But then I thought, oh, that's just fake laughter that they do in sitcoms. But I was like, oh, that's so disappointing. When later I realized there was nothing. There was no connection to the aliens at all. Like that was just...
I really thought that shoe standing straight up was a sign that, there was aliens. And and it's like, and I couldn't put together exactly like how or why, like, it's like, do the aliens lure animals to them by making them go crazy and making them need to run or escape? And so, but then all the lights would have gone out on the set if the aliens were there. So why was the shoe standing straight up? It's now driving me crazy.
Well, now I'm thinking that the reason that he put that in there was that was just another miraculous indication that the character took as, okay, this is like a miracle. This is some kind of like divine intervention or something. I don't know. So that's why he saved that shoe, and you saw it in his little shrine to the show. I was, when I noticed that, I was like, okay, he saved that shoe. He thought it was significant. So yeah, I just think he took it as, all we're meant to think is that he took it as a sign that was a miracle. But it is really disappointing that was not an indication that it had something to do with the aliens, because then that would have tied in nicely. And then what I wish would have happened is that scene where he ends up dying suddenly and makes his whole character and all that backstory feel like a waste.
Yeah.
I really wish that he had somehow barely survived that incident and then had joined the other main characters in their quest to tame the alien, and that he would have been such a cool addition to that group of people and that team. And it would have been like him kind of learning a lesson, like, okay, like you're not totally safe. Like he would have had to barely have survived and realized that he's not blessed. And it would have been a cool character growth moment and like perspective.
Yeah, and then it would have given a reason for all that backstory. Because I'm sitting here like, why did we need to know all that about him?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Except that it was just a cool, weird quirk. It did feel very like Jordan Peele-y, kind of like bringing in a random element, and it's horrifying. I mean, just the fact of like monkeys going crazy and tearing people's faces off. It's horrifying and real, which is kind of cool. But
yeah, okay.
The only like tie-in like that it could have is it's just the animal thing. It's like, okay, like humans think that some people get really arrogant about controlling animals.
Yeah,
like, you know, they mentioned those two magicians that had the lion, Siegfried and Roy, that ended up mauling one of them in real life. So like that was a theme in there, and so they were trying to make that a theme of the movie. And then with the main character taming the alien, like he has that line of like anything with a spirit can be broken or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they just didn't tie it into the climax, because then it's like, yeah, I don't know. We could talk about it, but
yeah,
I just don't think they tied it in well.
Yeah. Well, that was what you just said was going to be my whole spiel, is that it's just a metaphorical emotional thing, or like not an emotional thing, a metaphorical humanity thing. Like, watch how humans use animals for some sort of entertainment or profit. And like the whole business is of using horses for entertainment or profit. The monkey is the same thing, but it's like like how you said, like humans thinking they can tame animals for some sort of profit. And I guess you could like tie that into like all nature.
Wait.
And then
the problem with that is that
the
like,
alien,
the main character. I'm just saying, like the problem with that is like the main characters do that, and their whole motivation for controlling the alien and capturing it is to make money and be rich and famous. Yeah. But they're not portrayed as bad. They're portrayed as like heroic and good.
Yeah.
Even though their motivation is just as silly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Maybe
So that's
the whole. Sorry, I'm just having a mild epiphany. What if the whole point of all of that was just to foreshadow balloon popping? Because that's how they kill the alien, is popping a balloon.
Oh yeah.
And that's what triggered the chimp, was the balloon popping. And that was something else that made me think it was weird. Like, how is this linked to aliens? Because the balloons kept just spontaneously bursting. And like, it's hard to pop those crinkly, like aluminum helium-filled balloons. Like, you can sit on them and they won't pop. So I thought it was weird that they were just bursting over and over and over again on that film set. And every time the monkey would start to calm down, the chimp would start to calm down, and then it would burst, and then it would attack someone else.
Yeah.
And it's like balloon popping is the catalyst for change or something. Like, what? I don't know. But that's like the link.
And then, yeah, the other assumption of it being an alien doesn't work because all the lights stayed on during that entire sequence.
So, like, what was causing the balloons to pop? Because it seemed almost like someone was controlling. Yeah, the hot lights.
Hot lights, I would assume. Yeah, I was thinking like the balloons were kind of loose and floating up into the lights.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
But there was a balloon that popped on the ground when the monkey was like walking around.
Yeah,
I think so. I don't know.
And it was like, it felt like someone was, remotely controlling them to make the monkey attack. It felt like weird and planned and spooky and like, because just when he would start to calm down, pow, another one would go and he would go into attack mode again. And it just all felt like there was some subtext there that we just weren't ever told about. But yeah, balloon popping, the monkey scene, very, very critical to that whole sequence, and then also critical to the climax. It's just I don't know what to make of that.
Oh my gosh. Well, before we get into the climax, I do want to note on like my major issue of the film is the like narrative and the structure. And like this ties in with the whole monkey thing, is that it's all played in flashbacks. Besides the opening of the film, which we learn is a flashback. And then we get the flashbacks throughout that all have to deal with the Stephen Yeun's character. And then we also get flashbacks of the main character. And like all that stuff was so terrible to me. Like it just was was not needed, because they're saying what happened and then we see what happened again. So I'm like, why not just dub over the voiceover over the event, or just show the event and then flash us back to current time and then they're finishing the flashback. It just felt like a waste of time. What did y'all think about like those elements? Like the fact that it was like a reoccurring theme of the film was all these flashbacks.
I never thought to be annoyed by or notice flashbacks until I met you. I really, honestly, now that you're pointing all this out, that seems problematic, but never before would I have had a single issue. So
Because like,
yeah, I didn't.
like all those scenes, you know, they were stretched out to like 15 minutes long. They could have all happened in the beginning of the movie. Like the cold open of the movie could have just been the entire sequence of the monkey killing incident. Like start with the normal show, and then that would establish the metaphor and theme of the movie way better, which is look at this cute animal we're all making money off of, and then it goes crazy, kills everyone. Slow zoom into the young Stephen Young character who's being traumatized, fist bump, gunshot, cut to opening credits. And like that would have had the same exact impact as it had just weirdly laid out in the movie. And then when we're introduced to Stephen Young, then we learn, oh shit, that's the kid that we started the movie with. It would have had the same impact.
Yeah, you're right.
That's true. Yeah.
And then even the stuff with the dad, like all the flashbacks with him were very like inconsequential, and then just like weird, like dad saying,
No,
you know,
that moment where he was like, look at Ghost out there acting so territorial. And I think that was just him remembering. Like, I thought that was nicely done because it's sort of like he misses his dad, and his dad normally would be leaning up right there while he cleans the tack. And that's something he would say. And then later he realizes that the ship is an animal, and it's territorial. And it's like because he had that memory of his dad, and he thought about the way his dad saw the horses as like kind of people with personalities. And he's just like, some animals can't be trained. I thought that was really relevant to the rest of the movie, and really like you understood why that character had that realization of like, oh, it's an animal and it's mad and it thinks this is its home and we're invaders.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's because his dad was insightful about animals in that way too.
Yeah. That's a good point. I do still believe you could have had more time in the beginning with the dad before the killing, because I thought his death happened so quickly. I was like, wait, is this his dad? Is it not his dad? Like, what is going on? And then he's just like, I don't know. It was very confusing, like, if he had actually died, because we never saw, like, a funeral. We never actually had confirmation of his death. It was like another character on that first set. It's like, oh, his dad died 6 months ago. And I was like, oh, shit, 6 months have passed? Like, I thought this was, like, the next day or something.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of clunky. Yeah.
I did like that, but I like the death, like how it's just at the
freaking dime movie, just Thomas Jefferson
tragic
in his eyeball.
Oh, I did like the
so
making it the nickel of Thomas Jefferson was so
nickel. Yeah, that's
Jordan
nickel,
Peele.
Yeah.
It's such a Jordan Peele. Like, it has to be
you,
Thomas
Jordan.
Jefferson.
I see you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrifying. Yeah.
The plot holes you had about the Keke Palmer character not being on the farm, I think that's actually like not a plot hole, because we never see her in the flashbacks, and it's always kind of implied that she like left at a young age and that she's never really been on the farm.
Maybe because they didn't let her train that horse Jean Jacket.
And then she left as a child or something.
Yeah, I still feel like if you would know not to spook the horses. But I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, because he was asking, where's your sister? Like, she was expected there to do chores even on the day he died. Like, and he was like, oh,
Didn't she live in the trailer there? Like,
yeah,
it showed her in a trailer.
Yeah. Oh, and I was also amazed that this guy kept that barn that clean, and all the tack clean, and all the stalls clean, and everybody fed all by himself. Because, man, I've worked on a horse farm, and it is all day, all the time to keep the horses bathed, to keep the stalls clean. We never cleaned the tack because we never had time because we didn't have enough staff. Like, I mean, so I was amazed that he had time to ever sit around and hang out with his sister, and he wasn't just falling down dead in his bed at 10 o'clock every night, because that's how long it took to do all the chores every time. But I guess he had less horses than the farm I worked on. And yeah, maybe he was just real good and efficient, and I don't know. But yeah, it was amazing. He was a one-man show on in that place. That's intense.
I guess, okay, so I just realized I didn't capture this or understand this, but so the Stephen Young character that has the whatever carnival place, he's been feeding horses to this UFO for years?
No, not years, 6 months.
I think it said.
Yeah,
okay.
6 months.
So that's like a horse, like let's say he does that every weeknight. So he's feeding.
I think it's, every Friday, yeah.
That's a lot of horses. Aren't horses pretty expensive?
Yeah.
And then wouldn't that destroy the main characters? The main character has a plot point where he's like, I'm going to buy these horses back. Is he not aware that they're just being slaughtered?
I don't think he is.
No.
And that's why he's like, I'm going to go get lightning, because he realized that's what was happening.
I mean, he's such an animal guy. Wouldn't he be like looking around like, where are they?
Yeah,
where are all my horses that I've sold you?
Yeah. And maybe he was feeding other animals some nights. Because, horses are expensive. And, there was that pig on the roof. So they had other animals at that little theme park. Cheaper animals. That must have just been a special night when they were going to feed lightning.
Also, like, all those people
not
seeing
lightning
those
lucky.
shows and, like, none of them leaked this big news for 6 months.
Yeah, like no
maybe
one...
they thought, but remember the red lights that were out on the mountainsides that first night he watched it? And I think so. I think they thought it was just pyrotechnics, like just all a trick.
I don't remember this.
Like when he's hearing the speaker and it's dusk and Ghost has run off because of the bass is too loud because his sister played the record too loud. Mm-hmm. And he's out chasing Ghost and he sees down in the valley the show going on. And then there's the whooshing and the screaming and there's the red lights that kind of look like eyeballs that like flash up along the mountainside. And the alien didn't make lights. So I think that was all rigged up by the Glenn guy. I can't think of him as anything other than Glenn. Like as part of his show is he rigged up the red lights along the mountainside to enhance the effect.
Huh. So I guess that's what breaks the time we see it, because it happens in the day. But you're thinking he does it at night.
Yeah, because he was saying they're early, and when he watched it before when Ghost ran away, it was at night.
You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah.
He did say that they were early. Oh,
so I think everyone that went to it thought it was just a trick and just a show.
You're probably right. That makes sense. If it was under darkness,
Yeah.
God, I love that whole scene. I don't know, like just to talk about that one, like
what the actual show moment.
Yeah, that whole sequence.
I
mean, besides him getting killed immediately, I really like that whole sequence. The build up of like the show and like the uncomfortable, like because we don't know exactly what's going to happen or how he's going to do this, and then it's like his monologue. I guess his acting is really good, and and the abduction. But
the abduction, was there like a cut to black at some point, and then we're in the ship?
Yeah.
That's what really bothered me, because it was like all the air sucking, everyone screaming, and then it cuts to black for a couple seconds, and then we're in the ship with like a lady, being whatever. That really like bothered me, because like why wasn't it just a single take of like the camera following some lady and then being sucked up?
I don't know.
Into it. Like that cut to black really like bothered me, because I was like, oh my god, are we gonna get another title credit thing? And then like we cut into inside of it, and then it's all like gooey and stuff. What did y'all think about?
I loved it.
The actual like alien and the whole idea.
That scene's my favorite scene, like because it's just so good. I don't know why. It tapped into something. Yeah, it tapped into some kind of thing that I've not seen in another movie that I can think of. I guess because it is new.
Eaten by something, to be swallowed alive by something is such a disturbing thing to sit and think about and imagine. And so to watch, because I've I don't know why I've wondered this, but like if I was to get swallowed whole, I don't know, by a whale or something, like how long would it take me to die? Would I suffocate? Would I get chewed? Would I hit stomach acid? Like at what point, how long are you alive in there? How long are things that get eaten, swallowed whole by things alive? And that's a disturbing thing to wonder, and a horrifying thing to address in a horror movie. And I thought that was really amazing. And like how it flies over and they're screaming. So like people are up in there alive for so long.
Yes.
And the horse is screaming too. So I guess it takes it a while to digest them or whatever.
And if you think like it's like claustrophobia plus all of that, plus like your alternative is even if you're lucky and it decides to spit you out, you're gonna fall to your death. Like that's the only alternative. It's kind of horrifying. It's got a bunch of fears mixed together.
Yeah, and I thought that the design of the alien was very, very cool, and very clever, because I think, how could this thing fly through interstellar space? It would have to unfold itself like a big sail, because that's the fastest way to travel in space. They've kind of figured out it's like below speeds of light kind of travel. You would have to be basically extremely thin and light. And then the way it all just kind of looked like a big monster parachute, or like the evil umbrella or whatever he called it at one point, was hilarious. And also like simple effects wise, like you could just have a enormous creepy looking parachute like in the room with you. And I like practical effects. I don't think the thing was practical, but I feel like it could have been. And I appreciate that. And also the way it sucked people up, it kind of made a tornado. So that's another visceral fear, is getting sucked up by a tornado. And that's another big fear of mine. And then to be sucked up by a tornado and then eaten by it, then digested by it. Like, wow, what a genius design for an alien, and what a genius horror concept. Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
What if he would have tied this into like all tornadoes are just aliens eating stuff?
Oh man.
Oh, and the hiding in a cloud. That's another great feature of this alien.
Yeah,
I
it
love
makes
that. The cloud
clouds
that didn't move.
creepy.
Yeah.
And clouds are so pretty and fluffy. And now they're scary.
Yeah. This movie, it is like, if it was a greater version of itself, it could be like a new Jaws, because that's what I kept thinking about. It's very much like Jaws, like the way it lurked through the clouds. It's like an ocean, and it's kind of like it made the sky scary, kind of like Jaws, like whatever made the ocean scary again. And then the group of characters that come, the ragtag group of characters that come together to defeat the monster. I was like, man, this is great. Like, it gave me Spielberg feelings a lot of the times until the end.
And then that ties in with like how he shot it, like how he moved the camera to like constantly look up at the sky while the character's like hiding or doing whatever it's doing. I thought that was just so cool, and it's just so genius, and like how it's just skipping across clouds, just so early on in the film, like you don't really get a good look at it until like the midway point. And that I haven't seen Jaws, but I just know,
just like Jaws. No, that's the thing.
Like it's not a big reveal, and that's what is the horror of it, is that it's always lurking or whatever. But yeah, I do agree. Like, I think if they would have cut out the B plot, and because the one thing you're talking about that I thought the movie was going to lean into was going to be like I'm going to protect my land type of thing, because they set up that the father, they have all this history back to the beginnings of film, and then the dad owns this ranch, and he talks about these animals, and he talks about the land, and I can feel from Daniel Kaluuya's character, it's like, we're not giving this land up because that's our like family's heritage. It's not something we just write off for money. And it was just so weird how the film immediately is like, we can make $1 billion by getting a picture.
Well,
and then
that's how they save the land, is they get that money.
I guess, but I get
but
that, but like they didn't talk about it enough. It was kind of all we heard about their motivation was mainly the sister just talking about how they could get rich and famous and be on Oprah. Like, and so they really dropped the ball on that, because that made them way less sympathetic. And
I thought that was going to be an amazing what is the word when you have two people against each other, like a conflict. I thought that was going to be a conflict point because like, why did the sister leave, or why hasn't she been a part of the farm or the family? And I thought that was something that was going to be revealed, was that all she's thought about is making money for herself and be independent, and to like strip away her family ancestry. And then having the brother be like, no, I am just like my father. I'm going to take care of this land. This is all that is valuable in our lives right now. And I thought they were going to butt heads, and they had the perfect setup where she just wants to make a quick buck by taking a picture of it. And he's like, if his motivation would have been, I want to kill it so we can keep this land and it can stop killing our animals. Because that's the other thing. I was like, for people who take care of animals, like, they were just so willing to, like, give these horses up to die.
Yeah.
They were putting them in danger.
Good
like,
point. Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't think I would do
just
that
to get it on
with
camera,
any
just to
animal.
get a shot.
And I think it could have been an easy dual setup of she wants to take the picture and he wants to kill it. And you could have had both working in parallel. And then that could have been a suspenseful element of, no, don't kill it. We haven't took the picture yet. And then he's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then they end up killing it. I guess we got to talk about that because I'm very confused.
Yeah, I want to talk about that whole ending too, because I was really with the movie and enjoying it even despite the weird B plot. Just because what is this thing? Where are the horses going? What is the creepy humming, screaming sound in the sky? There it is, it's lurking, you know, jaws in the sky, all of that. Love it, love it, love it. And then when they decide to tame it, when they have that whole conversation about what are we going to do now, and then that's that montage of like getting everything ready, I was like, oh no, like I kind of, my shoulders slumped. I was like, we're going to have a whole nother hour of this movie taming the creature now, and I'm not ready. Like, I feel like I've been enjoying and I've been with the momentum, and now I'm kind of like, oh, this is a whole other project this movie is embarking on now, and I'm tired. And like, and then that should have been really cool and exciting because yes, like these are animal people, they're trainers, that whole thing about like predators. You can't train a predator, you make a deal with a predator. And the other guy was arrogant and thought that he could train it and he couldn't, and they just have to trick it basically and have bait. And that weird guy with the cameras that suddenly became a main character. Yeah, it just felt like it was almost a sequel within the movie, or like a whole nother movie starting.
Like a two-parter or
and
something.
Yeah. And I wish that either that could have been longer or more of the movie like skewed it to where they decided to train and catch it sooner, or like not done that at all. But I don't know how they would have ended it if they hadn't done that at all. But the way it was placed at like the last third was just kind of a, oh, okay, I'm not emotionally ready to invest in this whole other situation. I don't know if y'all felt that way.
Yeah. I think that is a direct problem of the structure and how it's laid out. That if the film constantly films like it's building up to something, it stops, rebuilds up to something, it stops. And then it builds this final part and you're like, oh my God, like,
yeah, I can't anymore.
This is a whole movie plot right here, catching an alien, where I thought we were just trying to figure out what it was.
But then how else do you get it to go away? How else do you defeat it? And yeah, it was all kind of muddy and rushed, you're right. And yeah, oh man, but I loved and hated both that weird camera guy they recruited to take the picture of it.
I didn't like him really. Yeah.
Because he seemed kind of like...
he was cringy.
He seemed like a cartoon character.
Yes.
Yeah. But he was so obsessed with predators and like watching predators kill other predators. Like he was editing all that footage of that. And it seemed like his dream was to be eaten by something. And that's why he ran up on the hill and screwed everything up. Was like, now I can fulfill my dream of being eaten by an apex predator. Yes. I can film what it's like to be swallowed. Like that was his dream way to die. And he just ran off and went completely crazy and rogue and fulfilled his dream, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. But that's what made everything go wrong, right? Like that's what made it mad.
I don't understand the motive, like, because he eats the person and it's like, all right, now he's full, and then it goes away, and then the film guy is like, y'all aren't whatever brave enough, or y'all don't deserve a miracle, or whatever stupid thing he says.
Yeah, whatever.
And then he gets eaten, and then the alien just wants to keep eating. I don't know.
It's like he looked it in the eye with the camera, and so now it was pissed, now it was bowing up. It was like suddenly felt challenged where they had been really submissive before, and it was going to back off. And then suddenly it's doing its big dominance display with the green streamers at Kaluuya.
I didn't like that. Like, why? First of all, as soon as it unveils the streamers, I'm like, all right, this thing ain't intimidating anymore. It just looks like a kite. And then second is like, why is it doing this only now? Like, to him, like what?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any. It's never done this before. It's very stealthy.
It was
It doesn't come out during the day. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
Does it know he's the main character?
Yeah, it somehow felt challenged by him and felt intimidated enough to do it like a little, like they were like facing off, like strutting, like doing the whose land is this gonna be, you know, male against male thing.
Yeah. Why didn't he eat him though?
Because he had the flags.
He had
the flags tied to him, and it wouldn't eat anything with the flags.
Okay. Even at the very end when he's facing off with the horse and it looks like, oh, he's going to die. He's going to sacrifice himself.
Oh, no, he doesn't have a flag sister. He's just wearing the orange jacket, right?
I thought he had flags tied to the horse, and that's why he was like, it's okay, Lucky. He's not going to mess with you, because they were going to safeguard that by having flags tied on.
Yeah, they do that at some point. Yeah. I just thought, I don't know. I was just confused why he didn't actually get eaten when the alien could have easily.
Because it turned to chase her.
Wait, but he was distracting it from her.
He was distracting it, but it didn't. He distracted it just long enough for her to turn the bike on. But as soon as she started to move quickly, it turned its attention to her because she was more interesting. Yeah, because predator chase. What is running? And it never really seemed like it was gonna eat Kaluuya. It seemed like it was just flexing on Kaluuya. They were having an alpha male conversation, and meanwhile she was food, and he saw that his food was getting away.
It sucks a lot of the tension out of it, that the main character just doesn't have to do anything special. He could just stand there and stare at it. And which is the thing that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, it breaks the whole, because it's implied that once you stare at it, you die immediately. Like it swoops in and kills you within 5 seconds, and then suddenly.
But that's why he had the reflectors on the back of his head, was so it would look like he was staring at it, and that was like the nuclear option, was to distract it that way, and somehow that impressed it. I don't know.
I think you're giving too much logic to this.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking like how you train a horse is sometimes you do have to prove to it that you are bigger and strong. You have to basically Jedi mind trick a horse into thinking that you are bigger and stronger than it is, even though like obviously you are smaller and weaker. And it's about squaring your shoulders and looking them in the eye and having your voice be deeper and more powerful. And you trigger their prey instinct, and they obey you, and it's sort of this weird psychological communing thing that you have to do, and I feel like he was squaring up and doing that with the alien.
I don't feel that.
Yeah,
because there was no interaction. It was purely a distraction for Kiki to go away.
Yeah,
and then he stared at it directly, wanting it to kill him so his sister could escape.
Yeah.
It seemed to be indicating he was sacrificing himself.
Yeah.
That's what I read.
Yeah, it was muddy. It was muddy for sure. I'm just trying so hard to give
I like your interpretation better. Yeah. Like that would have been better. Yeah.
If he could have written that in, I think that would have been genius, because
just had a line.
I have seen The Rider, and that shows exactly what you're talking about, taming a wild horse. And it is in a delicate dance of extreme danger. And in that movie, it's like a 15-minute sequence, one shot, one take, a real-life wild horse, a real-life person who does this. And every moment seems like, oh, if he even backs up a little bit, he could die. Or if he pushes too hard, he could die. And I think that would have been a cool moment if he would have like had that with this alien.
With the alien, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe they could have had like flare guns or some sort of like physical interaction, or like some sort of noise or something to, because I think it was like in the third, what is the movie was it Spielberg, the Encounter of
Close Encounters of the
Close
Third
Encounters?
Kind? Yeah. Isn't there some like interaction of noise and lights within that?
Yeah, the music. Like, they communicate by music, yeah.
Yeah, so like if he could have adopted one of those elements and had this sequence be that, where it is a clear communication, but I don't think it was. And here's a big plot hole I just thought of, because it only kills things that look at it, right? And it's been eating horses But horses don't look up while they run.
I don't think it actually kills things that it look up at it. I think it kills whatever it's hungry for and can catch. But I think that it gets angry at things that look at it. And like it was already full, but in like they were the whole thing about it thinks it's this is its home and these are invaders on its land, when really it's the other way around. And like he knew in that moment that it was so angry that it had literally puked blood all over their house. Like it was trying to intimidate them. It was pissed off. It was in rage berserker mode. And so if he had stepped out of the truck and looked up at it right then, it would have killed him out of not hunger, but just pure hatred. And because he was submissive, it backed off. And so it's not that it it's like it angers it to look at it. It's not that it eats what you look at, whatever looks at it.
Well, that's contrary to what they say in the movie.
Oh.
But and then
yeah, they
the
do
other
kind of
thing,
make a point of it.
the other thing they tie into it is that it keeps eating the little floaty balloon people, and they linger on shots where it has eyes looking up, and then it sucks it up, and then the balloon. The only reason the balloon works is because it's looking at the balloon's one eyeball that's blinking, and it sucks that up.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it sucks up things that enrage it, and looking it in the eye enrages it. But it also just, if it's hungry and it finds an animal, it will just eat it. Yeah.
But the horses never looked at it, because I've never seen a horse
he
run.
Didn't have to be he didn't have to be enraged by a horse to just be hungry and think that's a nice hunk of meat. Nom nom nom. You know.
Yeah. I think they were just going by like bears too. Like there's certain bears that like if you look at it, that just that's bad. Like you're challenging.
It's a challenge. Yeah. Same with dogs and wolves. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Don't Look Up would have been a great title for this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Can you imagine if that was your demo title and then that movie comes out and it's that bad?
I know.
Well, I was going to say the house scene. I thought that was like a quintessential like cinematic moment where the blood is like pouring down on the house.
That was amazing.
Beautiful, like I don't know if they did this practically, but it felt practical, where they had like the intense rain within like a dome. Like outside of where the UFO was, because it's like covering it all, and then that movement, like when we're in the truck with Kaluuya, and the UFO is approaching them, and you can just feel, and you can't even see it, you can just feel it with the sound effects, and just the score and everything emotionally, and his performance, that it's approaching, and that the rain is like slowly like creeping back. I just thought that was
I loved it. That
stunning.
was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many awesome things about this movie. Like aesthetically, it's so amazing. Yeah, it does sort of struggle in the plot and the pacing though. I'm seeing what you're saying. I think I might drop it to a 7.
Yeah, I'm dropping down to a 6.
Oh my god.
Officially.
This
Just
is a
because the eyeball
historic
thing. None of the horses are looking up at the
mid-podcast
sky.
drop.
Yeah.
It's just...
Did you like when the cinematographer started dramatically singing the Purple Eater song?
That was so stupid.
Oh my god.
What
I
is
hated
that
I was
from?
like, no. Because Jordan Peele loves doing little music. Oh, I'm going to take this song and I'm going to slow it down and it's going to be scary.
Yeah.
He did that too many times. He's done it too many times now. He's got to stop that.
Yeah.
I didn't even recognize that reference at all.
Oh.
The one-eyed,
some like
one-horned,
kids nursery
flying
rhyme
purple
song.
people eater.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing I noticed.
He was just making that up.
Yeah,
No,
I was like, this is just... I thought that was like, this is just horrible dialogue. Or like he was referencing like Thanos or something, because it's like a purple guy.
No.
I was like, okay.
Okay.
No, it's just a dumb kid song like you learn at camp.
No.
I mean,
I've never
feel
been
like-
to a camp. I didn't have a childhood.
it's a little bit of not a loss in terms of that song. But yeah, the cinematographer man made all y'all uncomfortable, right? Like he seemed like a deep-voiced husky cartoon character. Like I am the terrifying man. Yeah, he was cringy. Thank you, because I thought I was like maybe the only one it was falling flat on.
No.
Yeah, I didn't. It feels okay. So it's weird because I've listened to so many podcasts with Jordan Peele, where he was like totally super digital. Digital is the way. Film is pointless, blah, blah, blah. And then there was when he got nominated for, I guess, Get Out, he had a lot of like press conferences and panels with Christopher Nolan because he was nominated that year. And I was like, oh, cool. I hope Nolan gets in his ear and like tells him to shoot on film, because supposedly that's all he talks about to people is about shooting on film. And then he didn't with us, and that pissed me off. But then now he's doing it, and then to have a character, like, I don't know, it kind of feels like a joke, like a joke.
Yeah, like
character
making fun of the film nerd caricature. Is like they think they're so badass, and they think they're these artists, and they wear all black, and they have hats, and they intentionally lower their voice, and they intimidate everyone they're around,
and they're
kind of assholes.
Fartsy.
Yeah.
And they just edit. This is the other thing. So he's editing on a real film editor, like at his house. Like the big table thing is like a legit. I forgot the name of it because no one uses it anymore. Like I think the last film to be edited on one of those machines was what is the Scorsese film? No, it has Daniel Day-Lewis, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Gangs of New York?
No, it was before that. Dang, I forgot the name of it. But anyways, it's been like 20, 30 years. So I was like, there's no way this guy's cutting documentary footage on. And then it doesn't make sense that he's shooting like a commercial that's obviously digital with like and they just CGI a horse because the horse, does whatever and kicks a plate or something. Like, it just didn't make sense that this artsy-fartsy guy would be working on a commercial.
Well, just for money.
He had to, yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of like he was desperate.
To fund his weird tiger versus snake black and white footage that he had. He just seemed like a caricature.
I liked the line that he had. I did like the line that he had about like, I've got a great like lemon tart in the oven. I'm about to serve to 10 of my best friends. And I'm like, you don't have any friends over at your house right now. Give me a break. I feel like,
again, that was just a funny line for a man with a voice like that to say. And not,
I guess. Yeah.
Like everything he said, like, wouldn't it be funny if an intimidating man with a very deep voice said this line and now this line?
Oh, yeah. No, I thought it was funny. I just thought it was funny, like, he's like pretending that he has a bunch of friends over that he's
exactly
making
10
a meal
friends.
for.
No way.
Yeah.
Right. It was just funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, we got to talk about the digital counterpart, which is Angel.
Oh yeah, Angel.
I actually liked his character, and he felt very realistic and believable.
Yeah. At first, he seemed like such an asshole, and then he endeared himself to them really nicely. He had a nice little character arc of being like the dumb kid who is bumbling and obnoxious, but then you kind of love him, and you're really concerned, and you don't want him to die at the end. Like, that was all nicely done with his character. And that moment where he's like, thanks for stopping by. And they're like, shh, you don't live here. Like that classic overstepping your bounds, just immediately assuming you're part of the crew and part of the family, like thing that he did was very charming.
It was a shame that he didn't have more to do in the climax. That's the only, it's like, what did he do? He kept the camera. He helped stock the camera. But then...
reload.
I don't know. Then he just rolled down the hill. Rolled down the hill in barbed wire.
He was kind of the damsel in distress, like the person that trips and is all tied up and tangled up. There has to be one of those in a horror sequence. The totally hapless, helpless one.
Yeah.
And see, I thought that was a missed opportunity with the changing of the role. Because I imagine, because it's a very delicate process of not getting light on the film reel, having to change it without really seeing it, snapping it back into place. Like, that could have been intercut with them missing the moment. But then it didn't matter because we got so many moments after that. Like, they shot so much footage of it just flying around, doing whatever. I mean, there was, like, that shot where the film reel was, like, rolling down the hill with them. So they had all the film they needed. Like, clear...
That's a good point, yeah.
...movement. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand the final shot with the well and like how that photo would be authentic or legit.
Yeah, that's a
especially when it just looks like a parachute. Like, I don't know.
But she didn't know that they got the footage because she was in the house.
True.
So...
Well, no, they walkied that they got it.
Oh, they were on walkie-talkies.
Because then she was like, everyone come back. Like, what are we doing? And then that guy said whatever dumb thing and
It would have, it would have been way better if it was just them trying to survive or them trying to kill the thing, and that's their main mission. But yeah, and it's like even with a photo, people are really skeptical nowadays with the internet. Like you can do anything with, even amateurs can make really convincing, videos of UFOs. So it's kind of like, no one would buy it anyway.
I don't think any image or video would do it justice, honestly. And that's where I think if I could have rewritten this, I would have focused on the brother being like, we have to kill it and have a corpse.
Yeah.
That's undeniable evidence. I mean, we find animals all the time.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and then you could have the footage of it alive, and then you have the corpse on your property. Like, dude, that's $1 billion right there. Because it's like, we're not going to let anyone touch it unless, we get paid some money. And then, you would have some biotech company be like, oh yeah, let's check that out.
You know what's weird? Did y'all stay through the credits? Was there any like after credits thing or anything? Because
we left before they were over, I think.
Okay.
They were almost over.
I didn't Google it to see if there was, but I was just like, the ending was very sudden. Like, we don't even get to learn what is the aftermath for these characters after this event. Like, did they get to save the ranch? What happened to the ranch? Like, lots of things that I would want to know, but we didn't get any of that.
Yeah, because I can't remember the ending of Get Out, but I remember in Us, there was like that final sequence. Like there was an ending, and then you're in the car, and then whatever happens, and then we get the shot of like the hands across America. So I was expecting that, like, all right, here's the first ending, and then we're gonna get a second ending. But yeah, just cut to black. And
I really liked Keke Palmer's performance of seeing that her brother was alive, and the slow look on her face changing from astonishment to a relief and back again. I thought that was just a nice actor moment, and I was struggling, like, does this mean that he's alive? What is she seeing? No, he's definitely alive. No, maybe that's not what she's seeing. No, that is what she's seeing. Like the playing of back and forth on her face. I thought that was cool, at least.
Yeah.
And kind of a nice emotional ending, because I like sibling bonding stories and movies, because I'm besties with my brothers. So their dynamic as siblings was always very entertaining. Like Anthony said, they could have pitted them against each other more.
And then came together, and then
they came together at the end. And then they were, if them coming together at the end and reconciling at the end, and that little like eyes to eyes thing that he did would have had more impact. But still, it was nice that the two main characters were not love interests. They were brother-sister, and they seemed really believable as brother-sister. And I enjoyed that aspect of this movie. But yes, it could have been much better.
Did y'all cringe at the like unnecessary motorcycle slide that she did at the very end?
Oh, no, I feel like...
Well, that's a direct reference to Akira, right?
Akira. I read that today.
And also some stunt
really?
double really earned their pay, and more power to them.
I suppose. I was like, oh, come on. Yeah. And then, I don't know. She was like, every time she was running around, she's like, like, I was like, okay, let's cool it a little bit. Like, she was overacting a little bit is what I was saying. I was like, really? Like, every time she pulled one of the ropes, like, she's pulling the ropes for the balloon, and she was like, like, releasing the rope. I was like, okay. All right.
She's a loud, emotional person, though. Like, some people...
It's anger and frustration, not exertion.
Yeah. I did kind of think about that afterwards. I was like, okay, that is her character, though. She's very extroverted. Like, yeah, okay, I'll forgive it.
Very expressive, yeah.
But see, like that, I was like, what is she untying? Like, what is this? I don't remember seeing that giant balloon in any other establishment.
It was there. No, I think it was there before at the show.
Do y'all believe that balloon would have popped and killed this extraterrestrial being?
I mean, the alien all bowed, like, unfurled like that seemed kind of thin and flimsy. I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
And it's like, again, like Jaws exploding it.
That's true.
It really is Jaws.
Yeah. But a balloon
it's weird
is
that also,
so...
like, I thought it was weird that, like, he doesn't, like, I saw something where he was talking about all his influences and he didn't mention Jaws. And I was like, that's weird.
But this movie is Jaws.
There are a lot of Jaws references. He didn't mention that in his list of influences for this movie.
But see, that's what I was going to say, is that if you know it consumes things, and it doesn't process it immediately. It like lingers in it. Why wouldn't you just like, all right, this is going to sound horrible, but they don't care about the horses anyways. You put a bomb in a horse and then feed the horse.
Okay.
No, they refused to let the horses free and feed the horses to it. Like, remember that was what the creepy cameraman was saying, like, let's just let all the horses loose and wait for it to come. And they were like, absolutely not. We've lost enough horses. So they did care about the horses.
Yeah. Or what they could have done? Like that Twister movie where they like drive that car and then it has all the little probes and it gets sucked up or whatever. So like, what if the horse, like he would have looked at the alien and then while it's doing his tornado thing, he has like a bag of bombs or whatever spears with knives in them, or just
and you anchor yourself to the ground.
Just find the biggest
spits
nails you could buy
and things back out. I think it can process those. It would have to be something explosive,
like a balloon.
Like a balloon.
Oh, man.
Popping of balloons is the most dramatic thing that can happen in life, according to this movie. It triggers extreme events.
Every monkey in like 100-mile radius lost their mind.
The other thing that massive slaughter.
The other thing that was weird is like there was all those people like immediately outside the gates of whatever place. What did y'all interpret that as? Like
all the reporters?
That's a big film trope. Like, oh, just in the nick of time, everyone shows up, right there.
But because the people were missing for days and they didn't come, but then
they were there. They did a newsreel outside of it. So they had been like hanging around, and I think they had run out of stuff to report, so that's why they weren't there right then. But I mean, they were there. Yeah. It was a hot spot for journalists.
Okay.
Did y'all get any satisfaction out of the TMZ guy?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
One thing, do TMZ people look like that? Because I want to work for TMZ. That's fucking cool as shit. Like just reflective motorcycle helmet with the one little eye hole.
Yeah.
I think that guy was just especially pretentious. I don't think that's standard TMZ uniform. I think that's just like how over the top and high on themselves they are. Like I'm making fun of them, like shiny and chrome everything. But,
and it's just like, oh, is this like a government person? Like, is this a dangerous person? No. It's just TMZ.
It was just so over the top. But I did love his camera rig. Like he had GoPros all over the handlebars. He had like a DSLR with a GoPro with like another GoPro, like all three cameras on it, like on a handheld stick. Like, there's no one needs that much footage.
Yeah, they did tell the joke one too many times where he's like, I'm trying to help you. And he's like, save my camera. Where's your phone?
Please.
Why didn't you get a shot of that? Like at first it was funny and then they did it like 5 more times and then it wasn't funny anymore.
And then the sound effects were so over the top. Like every time he tried to pick him up, all his bones were breaking. Like, did y'all notice that?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
That man was very crunchy. Yeah.
And then here's the other thing. They've established that power goes out. When you're riding a motorcycle and your engine goes out, it doesn't immediately flip over itself.
But it was an electric motorcycle. Are they different?
But it wouldn't have locked up. Like even Teslas, when they run out of like energy or whatever, or electric car, it still rolls. Because you need energy to initiate the brakes. Brakes aren't automatically compressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like why would the brakes just suddenly...
Yeah.
Unless that motorcycle, I would never buy a motorcycle. When it runs out of energy, it will flip over.
It would have been almost more funny to just watch him get sucked up, like motorcycle and all, just like he's going full speed down the road and the alien just intercepts
right
him
up in there, yeah.
Right up, yeah, just immediately, like, oh my god, what an idiot.
I was waiting, and I thought he was going to do this. I thought they were going to remove his mask, and it was going to be like a very big celebrity like Brad Pitt, who's always in the trades or something. And I thought that would have been a funny like gag of, oh, what the fuck?
Before we end, like like Jordan Peele's thing is like, oh, like his movies usually have like political metaphors in them, and I feel like this one was particularly empty of them. I mean, did y'all get anything like that out of this movie? Any hidden messages or anything?
I think it was just a little bit more basic. Like, we rarely see people owning land and running businesses, and that whole thing about the jockey on the horse in the original, in the first film, anything. And yes, and there's this long history of Black people training the racehorses and exercising them and being the main people that actually handle them throughout history and through the whole racing industry. And it's sort of a forgotten about, not talked about, covered up sort of thing. Like, great horse trainers through time have usually been Black. So it was cool that they were like, look, these people, that's their whole livelihood. And I think there's a lot of like underground, sort of just visually wink, wink, nod, nod, like the Thomas Jefferson in the eyeball and the...
Yeah, that was the only one I thought about.
Yeah. But also I think it's just good to have just a fun popcorn sci-fi Western action movie with a Black cast. Like, just that by itself is all we need. Like, it doesn't have to be political. We just need more movies like this in general.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that there was no, it was very subtle compared to his other movies, which was interesting.
And like, I think if he would have rewritten it the way I imagine, I think it would have dug into that familial element more. And I would have really loved that, because I do think that is like a very, like, I come from an immigrant family, and it's very popular for, you either are exactly like your parents because you succumb to them like wanting you to be whatever they are or to be a certain thing. Usually a financial thing, like, oh, you should be a doctor, you should be this, you should be that. And then there's the opposite reaction where you just don't do anything related to the family. You kind of like abandon it all. And I think they had the perfect setup with Kiki being the, I want to be an entrepreneur, independent spirit, and then the Kaluuya being the passing on the torch. But yeah, I liked how it wasn't too on the nose with anything. But I think the main message is the animal cruelty, humanity, the prey and predator aspect, the commercialism. Like, I think it's kind of like about how people enjoy spectacles and like horrific moments. You know, like an animal killing people on a live TV set. Like, think that would be hugely popular if it happened right now.
Yeah.
And like,
and it's kind of the power dynamic of people over animals, and then also people over people. And it didn't beat us over the head with that, but it just was like food for thought.
Okay, so did y'all have any other major points before I ask the big question?
No.
Okay, so
nope.
Is Nope canon?
Another nope from me.
Nope, I guess. No, I mean, it's definitely sci-fi Western canon, but
yeah. Let's put it in. We should start doing that. Like, okay, like what canon would it be in if it was in any canon?
The mini canons.
It's in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just UFO movies, alien movies in general.
Say.
I think
UFO canon for sure.
For sure, yes.
One of the most beautiful UFO interpretations I've ever seen.
For the horror part of it,
I don't think it needs to be Cineverm canon.
Well, that will conclude our discussion of Nope. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Cineverm. We would be grateful and humbled if you could leave us a review or rating with your thoughts or comments on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you could share us with your friends and family, as that helps us in our journey to spread the love of cinema. And before we leave, I think you have an Instagram now, Helen?
Yeah, I made an Instagram yesterday.
Wow.
So follow me at Helen4Decades, Helen, HELEN 4 decades. It's my name. It's the only name I have on there. I'm trying to keep it separate from my Facebook. Yeah, because keep my Facebook private. Yeah, so... and I'll be posting the selfies I take of myself in the style of the eras that we cover on my other podcast. So I've got my 1920s pictures up right now. I'll be doing 30s, 40s all the way through. It's been a fun little photo project I've been doing. And since Instagram is for photos, I figured that's what I should have one. So, yeah, follow me on Insta, I guess. Helen for decades.
Oh, and Letterboxd.
And Letterboxd, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we will see y'all next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Cinematography.